right, thank you, Melissa. So first and foremost this morning, a huge thank you to Melissa Hook and Brendan Gilliams for providing support for me today to provide the division update. We're so glad that you joined us this morning for a look at what's going on with the Division of Library and Information Services. I suppose before we get too much further into my presentation, I do want to call to your attention that this is the first division update where we're using our new logo that was unveiled on June 1st. And so we're really excited and hope you've enjoyed seeing our new logo on many things. So we'll go ahead and get started. I am honored to be the director of the Division of Library and Information Services. I'm also known as Florida's State Librarian, certainly a title that I wear with honor in representing Florida in many different settings. So glad you've joined us today. We are going to take a deep dive into the Division of Library and Information Services today. So we'll go ahead and just get started here. Wanted to start by talking to you a little bit for those of you who are not aware, or as a reminder for those who are aware, we are finishing the first quarter of our new budget year. So the state's fiscal year begins on July 1st. And so we're right at the end of our first quarter. Of course, many of you all are finishing your fourth quarter, but we're just starting and closing out our first quarter. We do have a number of vacancies within the division. This just gives you a quick snapshot of that. We do have 7 full-time vacancies and 2 part-time vacancies. All of those are in the process of being filled right now, and so we are working diligently to recruit folks who might want to work here in Tallahassee and downtown with us. So we'll look at a couple of other things. Upcoming legislative sessions, certainly that's something that I remind you all of every time we're together. We now have the distinct honor in Florida of having sessions that change with the seasons in any given year. So as we're moving into 2020 legislative session, you will see from my slide there that the legislative session will be mid-January through mid-March. It will be 60 days. As we move into 2021, we'll fall back to the more traditional in Florida, mid-March through mid-May, and then back to 2022. So those even years will be earlier session, January through March. So because we're getting ready for legislative session right now, this happens to be day 3 of the first week of legislative committee weeks in preparation for the 2020 legislative session. So we do have a number of folks in downtown Tallahassee with us right now doing some very early committee work and hearing presentations and doing some thinking about upcoming legislation. And they are here right now. There are 6 weeks of committee weeks that happen prior to the official start of legislative session, which will be the middle of January 2020. So how the calendar flies by, and it seems like we were just talking about legislative session 2019. I don't know, probably last time we were together. So it seems like every time there's an opportunity to talk about that. I did want to give you a snapshot of our yearly budget cycle. I hope that you can see this one. I know we'll send out the slides when we send our follow-up out, so that may be a little bit clearer for you to read when we send the follow-up. What I want to call to your attention as just like for you all, budgeting is a year-long process, and right now we're basically right at the bottom of that circle. The agency has submitted, the Department of State has submitted our long-range program plan. We're immediately to the right of the bottom of the circle. We have submitted our legislative budget request that was published actually this week. By the end of this month, we'll be at the bottom of the circle, which is the rest of the long-range program plan. So that's been developed and in process of being published. So I don't know if many of you have seen that, but the Department of State's budget has been released in Florida's fiscal portal. So that has just happened this week. Of course, just to sort of think about the cycle just a little bit more, as we move towards that January legislative session, the governor will be developing and releasing his budget. That has to be released at least 30 days before legislative session begins. So we can anticipate seeing Governor DeSantis's budget probably around the middle of December would be my guess. It possibly could come out a little earlier, but it has to be released by the middle of December. And that would be the governor's budget. And then, of course, as soon as we start legislative session, we'll pretty quickly into session, hopefully see a House budget and a Senate budget. So you have here sort of our full yearly cycle. I've talked about where we sort of, if you will, been this week as far as releasing the Department of State's budget, as well as what we will release before the end of the month and as we move into legislative session. So we'll move on and think about some other things that are going on in the division. I wanted to provide a little information about the Friends of the State Library and Archives of Florida. This is our citizen support organization that is provided under Florida statute. This is an independent 501c3 group that actually provides support to the division. I can't tell you how thrilled I am that we have a brand new board. They've been meeting since December 2018, and they are currently working on some long-range planning and some other outreach activities. It's very exciting to have an engaged Friends of the State Library and Archives of Florida board with us. And stay tuned, because I think you will see some incredible opportunities coming out from this particular group. Again, they're really right now sort of in a long-range planning posture and thinking about how they want to move forward. The CSO, the Citizen Support Organization, or this Friends of the State Library and Archives of Florida, actually is an organization that has existed for over 10 years. It had become a little, Amy's words, my words, stagnant. And so we've appointed all new board members and really have a lot of energy related to that, and I'm very thankful for that. So I'll be bringing you updates from this particular group as we continue to meet together as a division update. Moving on with some additional information, I wanted to talk to you about the statewide resource sharing platform. And I did see in the registration information, I had a number of questions related to this. And I do have two different pieces of information to bring to you about this. The statewide resource sharing platform is a platform that the state is going to license on behalf of the state of Florida for any library in the state of Florida of any type to be able to do resource sharing if they so choose. The really exciting news, and this is basically the first time I've had an opportunity to tell anybody this, but the RFP, the request for proposal, will be released next week. So we really are on a green light, and we'll be actively working to identify a contractor and then have a contract in place for this service. And it is our intention and plan to have this service in place. Let me say it better, that we would have the contract signed, inked, between the Division of Library and Information Services and the selected vendor by relatively early December. And then from there, we'll look to launching the platform, what I see could conceivably be into early calendar year 2020. So just know that it's in process. We're really excited. More information to come. We have been working with libraries all over the state to gauge their interest in participating in the statewide resource sharing platform. There's no obligation at this point related to that, because until we know who the vendor is, obviously we're not going to be having anybody obligated. And again, it will be at no cost to any agency. I do see that some folks are saying, at least one is saying that they have some lost audio issues.
I don't think that that's on our end.
Okay.
Other people are saying that they're not having the issues. So I think that somebody's having some internet hiccups.
Okay. All right. Well, please keep us in the loop, and we will be sending out a recording. So hopefully that the recording, if we lost audio, sorry, let me say it better. If you lost audio on your end when we send you the recording, you should be able to pick up any of the pieces that you didn't get to hear. But thank you for checking on that and letting us know.
And we do have a clarification. Somebody wanted to know, Amy said RFP release next week. Did she mean RFP or ITN?
No, it is truly a request for a proposal. I will say, if you've been listening to me talk about this for like the last, 3 years, originally we were told it would need to be an invitation to negotiate or an ITN, but at this point we have clarified with the Department of State, and it will actually be a request for proposal that will be released next week. Just so you all know, after it is officially released, it will, the specs will be available through our website so that you'll be able to see the specifications that are part of the RFP process. So all of that will be available. We're really looking forward to having that project moving forward. So now thinking about statewide interlibrary loan a little bit more, one of the things that I wanted to let you know is that the State Library of Florida, which of course is part of the Division of Library and Information Services, is offering a statewide ILL service for any library in the state that does not have an ILL account with WorldShare through OCLC. If you're interested in learning more about this program, there is some information there on the screen. You could contact me, or you could use the link, the application link that's at the very bottom that we will be providing again in the follow-up so that you could get more information about this.
And Kathy just pushed it out in the chat.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. Yes, for pushing that link out. So you could click on it now if you'd like to see the application. But this is offered for libraries of any type who would like to use the State Library of Florida, or our OCLC symbol is F as in Frank, B as in boy, A as in Amy, FBA. Will be acting and for statewide interlibrary loan for any library in the state that does not have a WorldShare account. So that's very exciting, and let us know if you would like to participate in that. So moving forward, thinking about some additional upcoming events. We do have quite a number of things that are happening this fall and into early next year. So let's start with thinking about fall events. For the Division of Library and Information Services, we will be hosting a division orientation on November 18th. That will be by invitation, so that information will be going out relatively soon. The Public Library Directors meeting will be held here in Tallahassee, November 19th through 20th. And again, we're finalizing the agenda, and we'll be sending out registration information about that very soon. We will be holding a Municipal Public Library Assembly November 20th and 21st, again, here in Tallahassee. More information coming out about that. That will be by invitation to the municipal public libraries. And then to sort of cap out that week, we will have a Friends of the State Library and Archives of Florida board meeting on November 21st and 22nd. And again, I will be getting in touch directly with the board members about that part of the week as well. So really looking forward to sort of a little bit past mid-November and having some incredible opportunities here in Tallahassee to be together. Looking forward to that. Thinking about upcoming events in 2020, just sort of putting things already on my calendar. I'm sure you're already putting things on your calendar. We will be having a Florida Library Legislative Day hosted by the Florida Library Association. That will be on January 22nd here in Tallahassee, Florida. National Library Legislative Day, which is sponsored by the American Library Association Washington office, will also be reoccurring in 2020. They did not have a National Library Legislative Day in 2019. Many of you may know that. But the National Library Legislative Day will be held May 4th and 5th in Washington, D.C. That is, again, sponsored by the American Library Association Washington office. And I will tell you that this is sort of, at this point in the year, is when I begin my, what's a good word, pleading for your consideration related to attending the National Library Legislative Day event. It is, I think, very informative. And I know that Florida having a presence in Washington, D.C. is very important. We'll be talking about this some more over the next couple of months. But if you, all those who are here today and those who will hear the recording, if you're able to attend the National Library Legislative Day, I hope that you'll please let me know, and I can certainly send you additional information about that particular event happening in Washington, D.C. And also in May, we have the Florida Library Association Conference. That's May 13th through 15th. And so that, of course, sponsored by the Florida Library Association, but that will also be happening in May. So lots of wonderful things happening in sort of the, if you will, the kind of the first half of 2020. Of course, in addition to legislative session, of course, which will also be happening in that January through March timeframe. Did want to talk a little bit about Career Online High School with you. Always happy to talk about this program, and I do know there were a couple of specific questions about this particular program. Want to give you a quick update. While there is no state funding for the current year of Career Online High School, so there is no funding for the 1920 year of Career Online High School. However, we do still have students enrolled in the program. Currently, we have 625 graduates, and we still have 473 students continuing actively in the program. So while there's no money to recruit new students to the program in the current fiscal year, there's certainly plenty of activity happening related to this program from the libraries that have been sponsoring this program in the past. Do have graduations coming up soon in Jacksonville, over in Okaloosa County in the Panhandle, as well as in Citrus County this fall. So we've got several great graduations celebrations coming up in the very near future. So a lot to celebrate about Career Online High School. Just a quick plug, one of the things related to Career Online High School, as I do believe that you will see that the Florida Library Association will include the Career Online High School program as part of its legislative platform in anticipation of having some funding available for the 2021 state fiscal year, which of course is the whole reason that the 2020 legislative session is coming together in January. So you will see a lot more about that. And I do hope that if you have been participating in the program, that you will work to the best of your local abilities to tell the story of the importance of this program to your community. For those of you who don't know about Career Online High School, I would urge you to either contact me or a library in your area that's been participating in the program to learn more. Any of us who've had any interaction at all with the program are very happy to share our experiences and our knowledge about the program. Quite exciting. Now thinking about partnerships, and when I think about our partnerships, I'm really sort of thinking back and ahead in time just a little bit. So I know I don't ever hit all of the partnerships that we have. The ones that are ongoing right now, we have some partnerships with Florida State University. We also have with the university in particular, also with the Sunshine State Digital Network, also part of Florida State University, sort of several different partnership activities ongoing. We also have a current active partnership with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Several activities going on and projects going on with the Governor's Office, the Department of Education, also with the Department of Economic Opportunity. So lots going on. The division remains very active, partnering with other state agencies and also within the Department of State in addition to external agencies. So I do see the question, so I'm going to hop back to Career Online High School really quickly. There was a question about limited access to Career Online High School in the current year, which would be year 1920. The question is that still a possibility? And the answer from the state is no. Amy will add, I will add an unfortunate no. There is no funding in the 1920 year from the state related to this program. So that is true. I had been investigating potential ways that might be able to happen, and it is my investigation is come to a close. So unfortunately, there is no state funding for 1920. Suppose with that being said, certainly any local library system could fund the program locally, either through their friends group or through their local budgets. And that certainly is something that I'm happy to provide more information and actually better yet, to get you in touch with our Gale Cengage representatives to help you make that happen. but unfortunately there won't be any state support in 1920. But looking ahead to 2021 and your help and getting some funding for 2021. So just doing a little bit of, you heard it here first, you all here on the live presentation today, as well as those who are going to hear the recording, letting you know sort of the first glimpses of our new Florida Memory Calendar, which is in production. This calendar will be available later this year, and we are featuring Florida Springs in the calendar this year. So you see there are 2 images that we're using as part of the calendar, and again, just kind of a quick teaser for the Florida Memory Calendar. I have to say I've seen one of the early draft versions, and it really is beautiful. So looking forward to having that on my wall, just like I know you're looking forward to having some for your library as well as your own wall. I hope, anyway, you're looking forward to that. Certainly more updates. Table of Contents service. Want to remind you that this is something that we offer, sort of the old is new, with a Table of Contents service. The state library specifically is happy to help you stay up to date with published professional material. There is a bit.ly link there that will be part of the recording, and or Kathy, if you're so inclined, if you would send it out in the chat, that is very helpful. You can fill out that particular piece of information. You tell us which journals you're interested in. We then take care of sending you the table of contents for any of the journals that we have that you might like to have to see additional articles. So always happy to plug our services. Also remind you that we do have professional resources that are available. We do subscribe to some professional resources specifically for libraries, and any staff member of a public library, public school, or public academic library can get a state library card to access the library literature database and our collection of professional ebooks. So I want to always remind you about the services we provide here out of the State Library of Florida. Also want to remind you about our continuing education opportunities. Of course, we do partner with our partners, the multi-type library cooperatives, in providing training opportunities across the state. But always want to bring your attention to the many offerings that are available both online, like today in the division webinar, as well as other face-to-face opportunities that are made available and that we help get the word out about. So always reminding you about continuing education opportunities. Now, sort of as we move forward, thinking about some division news, I'm happy to let you know that our very own Tyler McLean, who is the State Archives Collection Services Supervisor, has been elected Vice President, President-elect of the Society of Florida Archivists. So congratulations, Tyler. We're really excited to have you active in SFA. I'm looking forward to great years ahead. Also wanted to let you know and sort of provide a little bit of image there for you to see. Very exciting that the Division of Library and Information Services is working with our local public television affiliate, WFSU, on the Crossroads episode, which will feature division resources and staff using original maps and other archival and library documents to show the development of various areas of Florida. So we're really excited about this FSU Crossroads episode. And I'm sure once the episode actually is final, we're still taping. They were taping even this week, interviews and gathering information. Once the episode is fully complete, I'm sure we will push it out via social media so that you too can enjoy this the episode that's upcoming. Always want to remind you that we do our best to stay up with social media and want you to stay up with what you need to know. So just a reminder there of our social media, different platforms. And so we hope that you are in the know along with us. Also, while we're thinking about this, I hope you are aware of our newsletters. We have many newsletters. You will, for those of you who have been subscribing to the newsletters for quite some time, you will notice that we have had sort of a change of format, a change of look That again will be changing again, but just stay tuned with us and we will get the information out to you. And the other thing, as always, we're very interested in knowing how we could continue to provide the information you need, whether it's webinar, newsletter, social media. Always happy to sort of take your feedback on what is helpful and ways that we can deliver information to you. So our next update is December 19th. We'll be sort of towards the end of the year. We'll be right before we kind of some of us leave for the holidays, as well as before the session starts. But we do have a target date for the next division update. So you'll see more information coming out about that. And with that, I think I'm ready to, there, good. I was going to say, there's supposed to be a question mark, but there it came, sort of popped up there. So I'm happy to take any questions that you might have, either through the chat, or if you, suppose if you wanted to raise your hand and wanted to speak, we would be able to unmute you, and people are shaking their heads yes. I'm going to also look at the registration report and see what other questions came in, and so potentially what questions I did not yet answer from the registration report, while you are thinking about other questions that you might like to ask me.
And this is Melissa just jumping in while you guys are thinking and hopefully furiously typing your questions. So we will be loading the recording onto our YouTube channel as always, and send out the link to the recording and the slides and any other resources that would be helpful in the follow-up message. You guys should get that shortly.
So are there any questions? This is Amy, and as I'm looking through the questions that were asked prior to within the registration form, I believe I have covered all of those questions. And what I will say is, we have finished with the formal content. So thank you very much for being here and being present. We will hang around until all the questions have been answered.
And we'll stay on for a few more minutes just to make sure that any questions that you guys are cooking up get answered. But for those of you that have things to do and places to go today, thanks for being on, and we'll see you hopefully online again soon.